sound this time, the lump of it digging into her lower back as her attacker shoved his arm to her throat. Fangs flashed in her face.
It's so nice when lunch has the manners to present itself on the doorstep.
Having used his self-congratulatory pause to drop a knife into each palm from the arm sheaths hidden under her jacket, she thrust up through his gut. Her trapped position made a deep cut impossible, but she got his attention, his blood on her blade. He howled in anger, punched her in the stomach, and took a step back. It was all she needed. Breathing past the agony from his blow, she sliced out again. Connected hard and true enough to puncture a lung. It would have taken down a mortal, but her opponent wasn't mortal. A sound of frothing rage, his eyes appearing to glow in the dark.
Bitch!
When he swung back, it wasn't with his fist. Ashwini was skilled at close-contact combat, but she was in a tight space in the dark against a vampire who was clearly no neophyte in the art himself, and he had what felt like a broadsword. She brought up her knives to ward off the blow, but it was too heavy, too true a strike, the jarring impact brutal. Her blades clattered to the floor as he split her left palm, and the underside of her right forearm open with the tip of the blade, and then that blade was cold fire across her chest. Iron scent, wet and dark, filled her nostrils, her breath coming in shallow pants. The vampire laughed. Conscious she couldn't get out of this now, not with the heavy clamor of enemy boots only a floor below and the sword-wielding vampire in front of her, she managed to make her right hand work well enough to grab the gun from her thigh holster. Becoming a prisoner of war was not an option. Never again would she let anyone lock her up. Of course, that was unlikely to be an issue, given that Li Juan liked to eat people, the husk that remained after the Archangel of China fed, turning to dust in the hand. "Sorry, Cher," she whispered to the man on the other end of the comm device, the man who taught her to play long after the end of her farcical childhood, and fired. The blunt, hard sound of her gun spitting fire filled the stairwell, the bullets passing through her vampire assailant to ricochet off the walls. Grunting from the impact, the vamp staggered back, only to recover to scream obscenities at her. In the flashes from the gun, she saw him lift his broadsword for a fatal strike. That sword clattered to the floor before it ever reached her, blood spraying her face in a hot gush. She stopped firing and heard the dull, wet thud of his head bouncing down the steps, knew it had been sliced off by a fluid steel blade that wasn't a sword or a knife, but something in between, as sharp as a scythe and even deadlier.
"No apologies between us, sugar,"
Janvier said, and scooping her up in his arms, ran up the stairs. No point in protesting. Wounded as badly as she was, she'd only slow them down if she insisted on moving under her own steam. Instead, she reached her bloody left hand around his side for the gun she knew he wore in a holster at his waist. It took a second to get a grip, his breath warm on her neck, and his muscles bunching and flexing against her as he pounded up the steps. Trying not to think about the fact that her chest was all but sliced in half, she sat up and pointed both guns, his and hers, over his shoulders. "Your ears are going to take a beating."
"I'll live."
She pressed the trigger on both guns. Their pursuers fell back under the barrage, but she knew that wouldn't last. Not only would she soon run out of bullets, and that was counting the 2 spare clips she had on her, she had to take out a vamp's heart or the brain to kill with a gun. Even then, it depended on the age and strength of the vampire in question. Ashwini had once emptied an entire clip into a psychotic vamp's brain, only for him to lunge at her. Janvier jerked at that instant, but didn't slow his momentum. She touched his shoulder, felt the warm slickness of fresh blood. Her stomach roiled. "You've been hit by a ricochet."
"Don't stop," he ordered. "Keep them distracted."
The scent of his blood igniting her deepest, most primal instincts, she did as he asked, mowing down a vampire about to leap up to them. 3 bullets in the brain, her aim true, thanks to the eerily staccato glimpse she caught in the split second of a muzzle flash, and he stayed down, giving his fellows pause. Her gun clicked on empty on the final shot. However, when she tried to